gentlemen, we are live today, Facebook Live today. We are very fortunate from the St. Rose office, real estate extraordinaire, Francesca Gilbert. Welcome to the show. All right, we were talking earlier.
Good morning.
And, yes, good morning. Everybody knows Francesca Gilbert, so let's just hop right into it and let's talk about today's current conditions, what's going on, all the changes. Hell, we can even get into interest rates and maybe make some predictions. How's that?
All right, I like it. I am picking the Broncos to win their division. Okay, that's my prediction for the
Wow,
year.
you are definitely saucy today.
Yep. So.
All right, let's hear it. So rumor has it that you got the new ABR designation. Tell us about that.
Yes, I'm in the process. So I just completed the ABR classes, accredited buyer representation, a representative, you can call it whatever you want, but buyer rep class. That was 2 days of, wonderful information through the National Association of Realtors. And for anyone that doesn't know, that class is currently being offered for free. $0, yes, because NAR would like everyone to become an accredited buyer rep. And so they're offering the class for free either online or at your local association. I did happen to get 12 hours of CE credit. And since my license is renewing in September, and you know me, I like to wait till the last 60 days just to make sure I still want to be a realtor.
You might
I got
change
the
your
CE
mind,
credit
right?
for it. Yeah, you never know. You never know. I could retire one day. Probably not. But but it was a great class. Lots of information, lots of discussion, not just about the new form, the exclusive buyer representation agreement, but about practical application in the world in terms of how do you talk with your buyers, how do you talk with your sellers, what information should you provide, and really what your attitude and demeanor should be with clients, because so much, Rick, of what we do, and I know you know this, isn't about what we say or the information that's provided. It's about our level of understanding of the client's scenario and situation, and being able to incorporate that into our discussion and really approach it in a manner that helps the client get to where they need to be. The buyer representation agreement is a new form to some people, not new to others. And it's all about making sure that buyers have clarity and transparency. And I think if we look at it from that side of the coin and really focus on the consumer-centric real estate model instead of the realtor-centric or transaction-centric model, that as realtors we'll have a better appreciation and understanding of that paperwork and of the practice changes that have become official as of this past Saturday.
Okay. So, right, the 17th.
17th. And we're all still here.
Yeah. It reminds me of YK2. Remember that, everybody? Oh, planes will fall out of the sky.
Yes.
None of that happened.
Yes. Well, we had a pajama party. We all woke up in our pajamas, so it still was fine. So.
Wow. Kind of like the airport today. Everybody seems to be in their pajamas.
It does seem like that. Even Trader Joe's. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
People shop in their pajamas today. Interesting. We're in a crazy world right now.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And rumor has it that your class was taught by Lee Barrett, who's very educational. He's been president like 4 times, right, since I've been in here.
Yes, he's Hall of Fame. He was a past commissioner, all of that kind of stuff. So it was a very very well taught class and really very focused. Again, we handled real life scenarios. We had little practice sessions where someone was the buyer, someone was the seller. We had a listing agent and a buyer's agent. We role played. We did actually, and it was very good because as much as people balk against scripts, I hear this all the time, I don't want to use a script. And, they listen to someone and they go, well, this person doesn't use a script. And I always tell people that we all use scripts. Scripts are words that you say in a maybe not exact order, but sort of a specific order or sets of orders so that you can communicate a point. It's not something that you have to memorize. It's something that you say routinely, because not only do you want to convey the same information over and over again so that everybody gets a clear understanding, but also remember we have fair housing to comply with, and the best way to make sure that you're providing equal service to everybody is to have a script or a a series of questions that you ask everyone so that you're asking the same information so you can help people. So even that, if you have a questionnaire that says, hey, Rick, thanks so much for calling me. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to helping you with the purchase of your next home. Before we set up a meeting, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you. Would you mind if we did that right now while we're on the phone? And as you go through that questionnaire, that is a script.
Yeah.
And you don't have to ask them in the
Equal.
exact same order or with the exact same words. You just have to ask them, so that you cover all of the information, right? Because, conversations are organic. I may have a list, but we may get off on sort of a tangent on one of the questions. But that doesn't mean I can't redirect you to my list of questions after we finish that conversation, so that I can ask you the important questions. Why are you thinking of buying a home? How long have you been looking for a home? Tell me if you've seen anything that you like. Have you seen anything you don't like? Have you worked with any other age, or whatever your questions are? Those are just a few off the top of my head. But those are scripts. So, and a lot of what we talked about at the ABR class was making sure that we're communicating effectively and that we're communicating the same information across the board. And Rick, as you know, that is one of the sort of underlying tones of the litigation, is that we've taken the secret agent part of our jobs too seriously. We've now decided that we're going to make sure we do things for clients. We'll solve an issue, we'll address something that's a concern, we'll handle something on the lender side or on the escrow side or transactionally, but it's we're not going to tell anybody about it, because we don't want people to be bothered or bogged down. And there's nothing wrong with communicating to our clients, either seller or buyer, that, this happened transactionally and here's what we did to address it. And oh yeah, now that I'm bringing it up, just to let you know it's solved or resolved, whichever one it is, but I still took care of it. And this is what transpired. And this is what happens in a real estate transaction. Because I think we've done a really good job of keeping our work that we do on a transaction secret. And I don't think that's a good idea. I think clients want to know what we do. And I think clients are very appreciative of the efforts that we make. And the way to do that is to communicate effectively. So the class was a great class. I highly recommend it. I believe it's being offered at the Association of Realtors every other month. I don't know if it's every month, but I know it's every other month. And it's well worth the adventure. And they provided breakfast and lunch. So honestly, you got free food. So I don't know what more you could need.
So there really is a free lunch.
There is a free lunch. There was. I mean, we had to listen to a couple of vendors.
And you get all the goodies on the new stuff, the new forms, why they're important. How do you actually feel about separating the transaction into two separate, the seller commission, the buyer commission? How do you feel about that?
So, at first I was up in arms a little bit because I didn't have a lot of information. And then I started doing a tremendous amount of reading and listening to podcasts. And I actually read the DOJ letter because, I'm one of those odd people that likes all sorts of, attorney kind of stuff. So I read the DOJ letter. I did not read the entire decision, on the litigation, but I did read a lot of information. And as I read through it, I got a little bit more clear in my mind as to why they're separating it. And I think that the official term is decoupling. I think decoupling is going to be the trend. I think we're going to see that that companies decouple commissions completely, and just go back to the world where if you want something, you should just ask for it in the contract. And that's how we handle closing costs, right? If we have a buyer that needs some assistance from the seller in terms of contribution, we put that in the contract and we ask for it, and then we negotiate it. And if it can't happen, then sometimes we have to address it in other ways. Perhaps there's other costs that we try to build into, like premium pricing or rebate pricing. Perhaps we just don't buy the home warranty at closing because it isn't something that's affordable and you have 90 days to do it after closing. I mean, there's ways that we help clients address costs that aren't strictly through seller payment. And then sometimes, if it really can't happen, clients are faced with a difficult decision. Is this the house that they should buy? And maybe it isn't the house that they should buy. And sometimes, as you know, when one door closes, another one opens, and it all works out the way that it's supposed to work. And I think if we treat the compensation angle in a similar manner, that we
Yeah.
ask for the assistance as much as possible, because that is your job as a buyer's agent, is to negotiate the very best price, the very best terms for your client based on what they're directing you to do.
Right.
So I think if we look at it from that angle, that it gives you the opportunity as a buyer's agent to go out there and do a better job without the overlay of what you're being offered.
Right.
Honestly,
Because you get
it
to
can be
ask
a
what you
plus.
want.
You can, and you can ask anything. I mean, one of
Yeah.
the main topics yesterday was deciding how we handle what we request from our buyers in terms of compensation and what we're going to do. And I
Yeah.
think it gives us as agents the opportunity to really decide how we want to how we want to handle our business. What is your business value proposition going to be? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
mine might be different than yours, Rick, because you and I are different people. We handle situations differently. You know, perhaps I have one set of of offerings for a client, and perhaps I have multiple levels, because sometimes people, believe it or not, want to pay more for stuff because they get you to help them with things that take time. You know, I just recently attended Inman, and one of these presenters um, gave us some information on a offering he's doing, and he happens to be in a California market where he's offering different levels of packages. And the interesting point of his conversation was that his base level was X, and then his packages went up, not down.
Right.
Everybody in the audience was expecting him to say they were going to go down, but instead they went up because he offered additional services. He included, you know, landscaping or gardening, wouldn't be landscaping, but, you know, maintenance, landscaping maintenance for the first 90 days, housekeeping for the first 90 days. In some instances, he included, you know, moving assistance, an unpacker, which I would have paid a ton of money to have, right? So there are a lot of people that are willing to pay more for service, but they have to understand what that service is and what you're going to do. And then you have to do what you say you're going to do. I think
Right.
that's the bottom line, right? You can't,
Yeah.
it can't be, you know, what do they say? Lip service. Is that the right word, where you're just
Yeah.
talking about it?
You're talking, but you're not doing anything. You know, it's
That's
interesting
right.
to me. First off, before I say this, I agree with it. I've always agreed with the buyer broker agreement. I've been using it since the mid 90s when it first came out. It's shocking to me that it's taken us 30 years to actually use the form. But I think their intention of what they were trying to do, the the Department of Justice
Yes.
and NAR, I think what they were trying to do is kind of backfiring, because ultimately now, as a buyer agent, regardless of what they say, well, the seller has agreed to, you can, in your contract, you can have what you want. And now it transfers into the contract, which we were taught as realtors forever, you're never a party to the contract. Well, they changed that too.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's been,
I agree.
yeah,
Unintended consequences, right, of their actions. And yeah, and I don't know that this is what the attorneys intended or didn't intend. I do think we should be cautious as realtors moving forward, because I do think that people who sue once, you know, are more inclined to sue twice. So
yeah.
we should be
Oh, they're
I don't
keeping it going. They think they've won the gold mine. They
yes,
the lawyers that sued and won could care less about what changes are made, because they've already hit
100%,
their home run. Yeah, they've
a
already
hundred
hit their
percent.
home run, and now
Yeah,
they're being
yeah.
even greedy about
Yeah.
it. We'll see what happens there ultimately. Uh oh,
But,
Francesca. Oh, there she's
there we go.
back.
I apologize. Sorry. I don't think I put my phone on DND. I think the one aspect that we really should focus on, instead of the negatives, is that there is so much opportunity
Oh
to
yeah,
now have conversations with your buyers. And I think that many agents and realtors, because, you know, there's a slight difference, licensees and realtors, um, have um, have sort of let the buyer's consultation go by the wayside,
mm,
because, you know, we're so used to, in our modern world, where someone may text you and ask you to meet them at a property, and we want to be helpful, right? So we say, sure, we're going to do that, we're going to go meet you at this property. But what you miss in doing that is you miss the opportunity to create a connection with somebody. And real estate is a long-term adventure. You know, generally, and not every time, but generally, we don't show one house and have the buyer write an offer right away and then doesn't close in 3 or 4 days and then we never see that person again. That's not generally how real estate goes. Generally, it takes you a a hot minute to find a property, a home that really works for the client or the investor, to go through the escrow process, to do all of the different tasks that are involved, and then generally you want to stay in contact with that person. You want to call them the day after closing to make sure everything's okay, even if sometimes the news isn't great. You still want to call them, and make sure to be available. So I
Yeah.
think that the buyer consultation is going to give us that opportunity to make that connection and really help people understand that we all do this, for a living, to help people.
Right.
We're in this for the long haul, and it isn't just a transaction. It's a long-term. We want to make sure that you're very happy with the home that you bought. The same way that we do seller consultations. I mean, as you said, if you don't have a listing contract, are you employed?
No.
No, right? So to your point, if you don't have a buyer's contract, technically you're not employed. You're
Yeah,
just
I've always felt that way about it. It's like I remember when I started in 1985, there was no buyer agency. You were the agent to the seller, and the other
yes,
agent was the sub agent, right? To me, that always was nuts. That's why you got the term caveat emptor, buyer beware,
yes,
right?
yes,
So this makes total sense. And when it came out in the mid 90s, I jumped right on it, started using it. And like you said, it allows you to explain the fiduciary responsibility and the relationship on both sides. The one argument I heard was, well, how do my buyers know they want to hire me? I've only met them once. Well, how many times do you meet the sellers before they sign? It's the same thing. You go over, you do a presentation, they either hire you or they don't. Same with buyers. So
yeah,
it's going to take the buyers a little while to get used to it too, because they're a
yes,
little, but whatever you represent as normal as a presentation is normal, because these people only do this every, what is the new average? Every 7 to 9 years, people
seven
buy.
to
I mean,
nine years.
yeah, 7 to 9 years. So it's not like they remember, oh, last time. They don't remember, so it's your job to be confident, competent, and natural in your presentation and show
Agreed.
them how it's going to go, right? I know that you know
Yeah.
how to do that.
And to remember why you're there. I think also that, that's what makes this an interestingly a good time to get into real estate. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, "Oh, I can't believe you have people that are trying to get licensed." And I said, why can't you believe that? I said, think about it from this way. If you don't know something, a bad habit, is it easier to learn a good one? So I'm going to take golf as an example. Like you golf, I know, and you're very good. I'm not very good at all.
I'm okay. I'm getting
Um,
better. Thank you.
but I started taking lessons, and I've had the same instructor for a minute. And I went and did sort of a clinic somewhere where I could pay $10 and have somebody show me some stuff. And after that, I thought, I'm never doing this again, because all it did was sort of erode what I had learned with my instructor, and that was working for me because I didn't have any bad golf swing habits prior to meeting my instructor, because I had never golfed. So I didn't have a swing he had to correct.
Right.
He just had to show me, and I'm working on it, and can it improve 100%? But at least there wasn't something he had to correct. So for many new agents, new licensees that are just getting started, there's nothing they have to correct because they don't have the bad habit that they won't use the buyer
Right. Yeah.
representation agreement, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to. So being new is not necessarily a detriment right now. And so I think we have to remember that also, that for agents that have been in the business for a little bit and are fighting, as agents often do, right? Because we
Change.
don't like change. Yeah,
Right.
it's bad. Um, there is a new licensee who does not have to have the same fight you do, because they don't have the bad habit, or the old
Yeah.
habit. It may not be a bad habit, right? So it's good to think outside the box and to change if it comes up. I mean, you have to roll with it. You do. When you and I have been in this market a very long time, housing prices have gone up, interest rates have gone up, interest rates have gone down. The market boomed in 2004. The market crashed in 2008. We had to switch from regular transactions to short sales to REOs to I mean, lock boxes have changed. I don't get to carry my MLS book in my hand anymore. I had
No,
to
right.
learn to use apps. I had to learn to use apps on my phone, which I'm getting very good at. I switched to virtual transaction management programs. I don't carry files anymore. I used to carry a box of all my files, right? But you have to be adaptable. You have to, because
Yeah,
the world doesn't sit still. Rush said in their song, in Tom Sawyer, changes aren't permanent, but change is.
right. I
And
love it.
you have to be a
She quotes the great philosophers Rush, Geddy Lee,
Rush,
Alex
Getty Lee.
Lifeson.
Yeah. Listen, you have to be a modern warrior. You have to be today's Tom Sawyer. You have to decide that you are going to get up, you're going to roll with the punches, and you are going to make it the best experience for your client that you can based on what's happening. Because
Yes,
all you can work with
agreed.
is what you know now. Rick, do you think these forms are going to change again in the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months?
Yes, I
100%.
do.
So
I think a lot of
all
it,
we can,
part of the changes remind me of HOAs when they take it too far. They change rules in the HOA. It doesn't mean they're legal until somebody challenges them, and that's what's already
that's right.
happening. So yes, so that's why they don't let me teach the contracts class, Francesca, because here's how I would teach it. You have a form, and there's a whole bunch of words already on the form, right? And then there's blank spots. That's where you put stuff in. Ready?
That's right.
Read it, go get them. Because I mean, really, the only thing you're adding in is the person or the people, the property and a description, and what's going to happen. The rest of it's already on there. All you have to do is read it and
Yeah.
understand it. It's not that complicated. But will it change? Yes, it will.
Yes, it will. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So anyways, that's the last 2 days.
That's the last 2 days. That's all good stuff too. And you know what? I think ultimately for professionals like yourself, this is a good change because you know how to. The people that are having a problem with it are the people I think that are maybe part time, don't aren't the true consummate professional. If you're in like a lot of what you were talking about, role playing, you're talking about doing a presentation the same way, practicing it, having it down, because it's an expensive conversation for both buyers and sellers
100%.
every time you have it. So you should have take it personally and get good at it, right? So someone like
Agreed.
yourself, these changes are all good once we get through the wave of change that your mind wants to fight you on. But once you get through that, you realize, you know what, this is a pretty good gig because now I get to talk to my buyers like my sellers. And what really evens the playing field is it's not just for you. Everybody has to use
That's
this
right.
form
That's
or they're
right.
going to get
And
fined,
and
right?
and I think the agents that are having trouble with it are the agents that have mindset issues, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important. And I know you work out, I run, right? I mean, I get up, I do a run. If I start my run with the mindset that it's going to be really hard, it's too hot outside, the course is too hilly, I'm going to be too tired, I didn't get enough sleep, I didn't eat. I mean, I have one of those watches that tells me how well I slept. I no longer look at that watch before I go on a run, because if it tells me I slept poorly, that becomes my mantra, that I slept poorly. There's no way this can be a good run. My day is going to be really slow and awful. If I just don't look,
Yeah.
you know what? It turns out everything goes pretty good, right? So it's a mindset issue too. I think you have to decide that changes happen, that you're going to learn as best as you can, you're going to adapt as best as you can, and you're going to make every effort to help your clients, and that the world will not end. When interest rates were 18% in 1983, 82ish, the real estate did not end. When the recession happened and short sales happened, real estate did not end. When the computer was invented, the interweb, as my daughter calls it, guess what? It didn't end. Amazon, turns out they didn't weren't successful at their real estate company. We've had lots of interruptions and attempted interruptions, and we will continue to have lots of interruptions. And you just have to decide that this is the way that things happen, and you're just going to get up, have a good attitude about it, learn what you can, and then go into every presentation focused on that presentation and in the moment. In the moment, you have to be attached to your clients and in the moment.
I agree 100%. You mentioned running and working out and so forth too. To keep that positive mental attitude you're talking about, is there anything else you do to make sure you keep the melon intact?
So there's things that I no longer do, which are silly things like look at my watch, right? Because it wrecks my whole day to go, oh my gosh, I didn't sleep, or my body battery is a 2 now, or something like that. So, but I have, like, right now I'm doing a modified version of the 75 hard that my trainer set up. I have a trainer that's helping me, just kind of get into better physical condition. So I do weight training, I run. I try to get up early because I find that if I start my day earlier, I am not up against the 8 ball at the end of the day trying to get, different tasks accomplished. I do read a lot to relax my brain. I listen to podcasts while I walk, and those are generally informative podcasts. Real estate, like I listen to Real Estate Insiders with Dwiggins and Robinson and those guys. So I try to fill my head with good information about the industry. And I like to teach classes. So anytime the office will let me teach anything about anything, I will do that, because I find that giving back and sharing information is a good way to keep your head in a good space. And then, I talk to my kids almost every day, because I find that that helps also. One fun thing that my daughter started with us on our little group text, I have 2 daughters. Every day she texts randomly and says, my good of the day is, and then she puts something that is good. Yesterday, she posted a picture of an oil cruet, a thing that you pour oil out of when you cook, that she got for 50 cents at TJ Maxx or Marshall's or someplace. And she was very entertained, because this is a college kid with no money, right? And so then myself and the other daughter will then post our good of the day, and it alternates. So today one daughter might have done it, tomorrow the other daughter might do it, and then one day I'll do it. But it keeps us remembering to have gratitude, right? And sometimes it's for small things like a 50-cent oil cruet that you found at TJ Maxx, and sometimes it's for big ticket items. My other kid posted last week, they have a garden at her work in DC, where they get to go shopping on Wednesdays. They bring a little grocery bag and they can fill it with produce. Well, she took a picture of a zucchini the size of double her head and sent it to us and said, I just got this zucchini for free. It's ridiculous, Rick, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that shifts your head to the right place, because we are all very lucky people. We work in an amazing industry. We have wonderful training, a great company. I know I personally have the most amazing clients in the whole wide world. I have wonderful children, a fun dog, a great family, and I live in the best country there ever is. So if you can't wake up and find gratitude, you know what? I think you're just not looking, because it's right there. It's right in front of you.
It's like when we talked last time, everybody needs to be a Tigger, not an Eeyore.
Everybody. Bouncy, 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 fun, fun, fun. Go get it. So, and if you can't get it, make it up, because you can fake it till you make it. And if you smile long enough, even if it's not a real smile, guess what? It becomes a real smile, because you're even contagious to yourself. Happiness is something you can go out there and get if you just open your heart, open your head, and open your eyes a little bit.
Exactly. I love it. And then I agree with everything you say. And every now and then, when you try, like when I'm driving or somewhere, or you try to go down the pity potty path, right? I remind myself that I'm traveling on a rock with an atmosphere through the universe, spinning at a bazillion miles an hour, slightly tilting back and forth to create the seasons. If we were 1% closer to the sun, we'd be toast. If we were 3% away, we'd be frozen. Everything that's happening around you is amazing and a miracle.
Everything.
And then you worry about little minor things. that really don't matter. So I think gratitude is a great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Mark Masevic used to say that misery loves company, but not this company.
Right. Exactly.
Not this
I love
company.
it.
So anyway, so
Yes.
those are my thoughts.
There we go. I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time. We're right at time too. Perfect timing. Thank you, Francesca. This has been extremely enlightening. I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of nuggets out of it. And thank you for taking your time out today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Everybody go out there and get some. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Thanks, Francesca. Bye, everybody.
Bye.